Okay, so get ready, because today we are diving into The Renegade,
Oh, yeah.
a short story by Shirley Jackson that I think you'll agree will leave you feeling a little uneasy. And we're going to try and untangle some of those unsettling, undercurrents
Yeah.
lurking beneath the surface of what seems like normal life.
Right.
Like a perfectly
Yeah.
pleasant community.
Uh-huh.
But there are some little cracks where the darkness kind of peeks through.
Absolutely. And I think what really strikes me about The Renegade is that it starts with such a familiar scene,
Yeah.
so relatable.
Right.
The morning rush.
Uh-huh.
The Walpole family is scrambling to get out the door.
Yep.
Kids are dawdling.
Of course.
Breakfast is half-eaten.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Walpole is just desperately trying to keep everything on schedule.
Yeah. I felt that anxiety.
Yeah.
Almost immediately.
Right.
Just every minute feels so meticulously planned.
Right.
And you can practically feel Mrs. Walpole's tension
Yes.
rising as the clock ticks.
Yep.
It's like that feeling of when you're trying to balance a house of cards.
Yes.
And the slightest breeze threatens to topple everything.
Exactly. And that sense of precarious balance
Yeah.
is only heightened by that phone call that shatters their routine.
Oh, yeah.
A neighbor calls and accuses the family dog lady
Uh-huh.
of killing chickens.
Oh, wow.
But what I think is so fascinating is not the accusation itself,
Yeah.
but Mrs. Walpole's reaction.
Well, she just instantly folds.
Yes.
Under the weight of this accusation.
Right.
It's like she's more concerned with making sure that, everything's smooth.
Right.
Maintaining that suburban harmony.
Right.
Than actually defending her dog. Like,
Yeah.
is she truly remorseful? Or is this
Yeah.
just blind panic
Yes.
to preserve her social standing?
That's such a good point. It's almost like that social ostracization is more terrifying to her than the idea of her dog actually doing any harm.
Right.
And that fear leads her down this rabbit hole
Oh, yeah.
of increasingly strange solutions.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the advice that she gets from the neighbors.
Yes.
It's like stepping into a minefield of just opinions, each more outlandish than the last.
Totally.
From tying the dog up to muzzling her.
Yeah.
It's just this chorus of escalating punishments
Yeah.
that just seem totally disproportionate
Oh.
to the alleged crime.
It's almost comical.
It is.
At first, the way that they all jump on this bandwagon of solutions.
Yeah.
But then the humor fades so quickly
Yes.
when you realize they're talking about a family pet.
Uh-huh.
And the things they're suggesting are truly cruel.
Right. It's so chilling how quickly
Yeah.
they condemn Lady
Yeah.
without any real evidence.
Uh-huh.
And it made me think about how easily we get
Right.
caught up in mob mentality.
Yes.
You know how fear and suspicion can just spread through a community?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really highlights that instinct we have as humans to find a scapegoat
Yeah.
and project our own anxieties
Yeah.
onto something else. And in this case, Lady becomes the embodiment of all their fear.
Yes.
And they're fixated on punishing her,
Right.
almost to regain a sense of control.
And I love the way that Jackson weaves in these little details.
Oh, yeah.
Like the kid's game.
Yeah.
Mirroring the suggested punishment
Ah.
for the dog.
Yeah.
It's like this reflection of the adult world.
Right.
This chilling reminder that violence begets violence.
That's Jackson's brilliance at work.
Yes.
Subtly drawing these parallels
Yeah.
and planting these seeds of unease.
Right.
She doesn't tell us what to think,
Uh-huh.
but those details stick with you.
Yes.
It creates the sense of dread that builds as the story goes on.
And just as that tension reaches a peak,
Yeah.
you're on the edge of your seat thinking, what's going to happen to Lady?
Yeah.
We have the arrival of Alphonse.
Yes.
And bam, the story ends.
A whole truckload of unanswered questions.
I know. What that ending?
It's like she drops a bomb and then walks away.
It is leaving us to grapple with the implications.
Right.
Who is this guy?
Right.
What's his connection to the family?
Yeah.
And what does it mean for Lady?
I have to admit, I was left feeling really disturbed. And not just because we don't know Lady's fate,
Right?
but it's the unanswered questions about the nature of the community itself.
Yeah.
The potential for violence that lurks beneath the surface of their seemingly pleasant lives.
Right.
That really stuck with me.
It's that ambiguity that makes it so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It makes us face these uncomfortable truths about human nature.
Right.
It makes us question our own assumptions about the world and maybe even recognize those same dark impulses
Yeah.
within ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah. That ending, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
as unsettling as it is,
Oh, yeah.
it also opens up like a whole new way to look at it.
Right.
Like Jackson's almost asking us to consider that the real renegade isn't Lady at all,
Oh, interesting.
but something much deeper.
Yeah, something inside the community itself.
I think one of the keys to understanding
Okay.
that darkness is the symbolism.
Uh-huh.
Like, let's talk about food for a second.
Okay.
It seems like an ordinary detail,
Yeah.
but I think it says a lot
Yeah.
about the characters and their motivations.
Food is so powerful, right?
Yes.
Especially in this story. I mean, it represents nourishment and comfort
Right.
and order.
Yeah.
But in the Renegade Order is always being threatened.
Uh-huh.
And food gets all mixed up with this blame and fear,
Right.
even violence.
Yeah, it starts with that meticulously planned breakfast.
Exact.
Mrs. Walpole is so focused
Mm-hmm.
on keeping everything running like clockwork.
Yes.
But then that phone call about Lady
Yeah.
throws everything into chaos.
Exactly, and you can see that disruption
Yeah.
in the way food shows up throughout the story.
Uh-huh.
Remember Mrs. Nash?
Yeah.
The neighbor giving advice while she's frying donuts?
Yes.
On the surface, it seems like a normal thing, but it takes on a darker meaning.
Right.
Thinking about what's going on with Lady,
It's like she's trying to impose order
right?
on this situation that's out of control.
Yes.
Frying those donuts becomes this like ritual, trying to hold on to normalcy
Totally.
even as everything's falling apart.
Yeah, and then there's that disturbing conversation
Oh, yeah.
about the dog that was supposedly cured
Oh.
of killing chickens by being forced to eat eggs.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a weird and cool solution.
It is.
But it shows that logic.
Right.
That violence can be fixed
Yeah.
through this messed up way of eating.
Like they're trying to get rid of the evidence.
Yes.
By literally consuming the problem.
Exactly.
But instead of fixing anything,
Right.
it just makes it worse.
Yes, and it's not just about actually eating.
Yeah.
There's also this feeling of hunger,
Right.
like a desire for something more
Yeah.
than their perfect little lives.
Right.
It's like they're all craving something, but they can't say what it is.
Uh-huh.
And that hunger turns into suspicion and fear,
Yeah.
and finally the urge to punish.
it's like they're starving.
Yeah.
For something real. Something authentic.
Right.
But they're too afraid to break free
Exactly.
from all those expectations.
And that brings us back to the kids' game.
Okay.
Which gets even more disturbing.
Yeah.
When you think about this idea of hunger and consumption.
Right.
Their game about capturing and punishing
Yeah.
becomes this scary reflection of the adult world.
Oh, wow.
This obsession with finding someone to blame
Uh-huh.
and forcing a cure,
Yeah.
even if it makes no sense.
It's like the kids are mimicking those dark impulses
Yeah.
simmering beneath the surface of their perfect little community.
yeah, they're acting out
Right.
the fear and blame and violence
Yeah.
that they see around them.
And that's what's so unsettling.
Yeah.
It's like this cycle of violence
Uh-huh.
that's poisoning everything.
It gets into every part of their lives,
Yeah.
even the normal things.
And just when you think you understand
Right.
how bad it is.
Yeah.
We have Alphonse showing up
Oh, yeah.
out of nowhere.
It changes everything, right?
It does.
Makes you rethink everything.
Alphonse is so mysterious.
Right.
He could be a symbol of hope
Yeah.
or uncertainty.
Uh-huh.
Is he going to save Lady
Right.
and expose the hypocrisy of the community?
Or is he going to make things worse?
Yeah.
Take advantage of their fear?
That's what makes the Renegade so brilliant
Oh, yeah.
and so unsettling.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you easy answers.
Right.
It makes you confront this really uncomfortable truth
Yeah.
about what it means to be human.
Right.
And this idea that sometimes there are no easy answers.
Exactly. The darkness is still there.
Yeah.
It doesn't just disappear because a new person shows up.
This has been such a great discussion. You've really unpacked this story. The themes, the symbolism, the ending.
I know. And it's left me feeling kind of disturbed. But also, like, I really admire Jackson's writing.
Oh, she's so talented.
Yes. So complex and thought-provoking.
Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah.
What stuck with you?
Uh-huh.
What questions are you still thinking about?
Yeah.
Share your thoughts.
Let's keep talking about it. As we've been talking about the Renegade, you know, I just keep feeling this unease. Like something isn't right
Yeah.
underneath this seemingly, perfect community.
It's like this perfectly manicured lawn.
Yeah.
But there are these cracks in the pavement underneath.
Right.
Like something's not stable.
And I think one of those cracks is conformity.
Right.
It's like they're all so caught up in keeping up appearances
Right.
that they're willing to give up their own individuality.
Right.
Their ability to think critically, even their compassion.
Like Mrs. Walpole.
Yes.
She just wants to avoid making waves.
Right.
So she takes the blame for something she doesn't even know if her dog did.
I feel like fitting in is more important than anything else.
Truth or justice.
Right. And it's not just her. All the neighbors with their crazy solutions for Lady,
I know.
they're all swept up
Yeah.
in this need to conform.
They have to agree on a story.
Right.
Even if it's based on nothing.
Even when it's cruel and irrational.
It's like they've lost the ability to think.
Yeah.
They're so afraid of being different, of being disruptive,
Yes.
that they just follow the crowd.
And that is really terrifying because it's so relatable.
Oh, totally.
I mean, haven't we all felt that pressure
Right.
to conform at some point?
Of course.
To just go along with it.
Yeah.
Even when you have doubts.
It's like a basic human fear.
Right.
That fear of being left out, of being the outsider.
And Jackson shows us
Yeah.
how that fear can be used to
Okay.
create suspicion and paranoia.
It's like all reason goes out the window. And then we have Alphonse showing up at the end.
Like throwing a wrench in the works.
He really does.
Makes you question everything.
Is he a savior?
Yeah.
Is he going to free Lady,
Right.
expose everyone's hypocrisy?
He's going to make it worse.
Or is he just going to use their fear?
It's impossible to know.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Jackson doesn't give us a simple answer.
Right?
It's like she's saying sometimes there isn't one.
Right. The darkness, the violence,
The potential for it?
it doesn't just disappear
Right.
because a new person shows up.
The Renegade is more than just a story about a dog.
Yes.
It's about us.
It is.
It's about the dark side of who we are and how easily things can fall apart.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We've unpacked so much.
Yeah.
The themes, the symbolism, the ending.
It's left me feeling uneasy.
Me too.
But it also makes you think
It does.
Jackson was a genius.
She's a master storyteller.
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what stuck with you? What questions are you still wondering about?
Share your insights and let's keep this conversation going.
Because that's what this is all about.
That brings our deep dive into Shirley Jackson's The Renegade to a close.
Until next time,
Remember, keep exploring
keep questioning.
and keep those lights on.
You never know what's hiding in the shadows.